This is the Aston Martin Heritage Podcast with Garry Taylor.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Aston Martin Heritage Podcast. Hope you're well. Now, I'm here with Steve Waddingham, as some of you may know, is the AML historian, and more importantly, from our point of view, the Aston Martin Heritage Trustee. Now, Steve, you said to me a while back, there's an Aston Martin event going on. Would I like to go? And I said, well, love to. Where is it? He said, we're going east. Now, I got an impression, I thought, well, Norfolk is fine with Norfolk, that'd be fine, but I think I should have mentioned this earlier when we got off at the airport. Where are we, Steve?
Yeah, well, we went really, really east, and we're actually in Japan. So we are sat here right now in a temple in Tokyo. And yeah, so I'm sorry, Gary, I sort of probably misled you a little bit when I said we were going to go east, but yeah, we've really gone properly east.
Okay, right, well, Norfolk will be another day. So this is marvellous. I think it's the first time the Aston Martin Heritage Trust has actually gone, well, way out east. And, well, Steve, why are we here? Why are Aston Martin and why is the Trust here in Japan, Tokyo?
Well, so first of all, the event itself is called the Aston Martin Arcadia event, and it's part of the 110-year celebration. So our region for Asia Pacific decided it wanted to do a special event, and we're hoping that this will be the first of a series of events that might become a biennial event, so every other year. This is the first one.
Because Aston Martin held their own 110 years at Silverstone, didn't they, in July, I think it was, and that was on a racetrack. But I think here they're doing something similar, not perhaps on a racetrack, but they're making a weekend event out of it, aren't they, for the 110 years? They're doing their own celebration.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the reason we're here as trustees and to support the event is because today, day one, is a concourse. So we've got about 60 plus cars out there to judge, and our regional team reached out to us and said, could we help with the planning of the event, how to do a concourse. So actually 3 trustees have been involved in this, so Tim Cottingham, and yourself, and obviously myself being AML as well as a trustee. So this is really the first time the trust has actually been able to really get behind an overseas event like this and add some expertise to it. And it's great. The only problem is it's raining, so we've brought the weather with us, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's right. We brought the British weather because in the past few days leading up to us, it was dry, and today the concourse judging day it's wet. But the forecast seems to be for the next 2 days over to which the event's held is going to be dry. So, as you say, the 3 trustees, Tim Cottingham, has helped tremendously in the background of some of these cars. So we're here to judge these cars, aren't we, to make sure they are what they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're here with 3 other judges that are here to judge from an elegance point of view. We're here to also add into that the originality, the differences between the cars, the specifications, that sort of thing. And really the team over here, working with the local dealers in this region, have really pulled together some amazing cars, from pre-war right the way up to brand new Valkyries, and everything else in between, really.
It's quite amazing because it's in the Asia region, and they've got about 65 cars here, and it's not all second century cars. Some of them go back to the pre-war, and we do have a tractor here as well, don't we? A David Brown tractor. Yeah,
very importantly, you could argue there's a David Brown tractor here, and of course David Brown DB, as in DB5 and DB9 and DB11, etc. And for me, it's quite good to see the tractor here because it's a reminder of how it was all possible. For 25 years, the reign of DB, if you like, was effectively shored up, underpinned, whatever you want to call it, by David Brown tractor manufacturers. So making tractors and creating the profits from them was really fueling and paying for Aston Martin. And in that period, we got all those great cars from DB2 through to the last of the DBSs, really, under that original stewardship of David Brown. So yeah, to have one of those here today, it's a bit of fun, but it's also got quite an important place in the lineup.
I think it's good to be here. So I think there were about 65 cars here, and they really seem to have picked, the Aston Martin history from the pre-war, say through the tractors, and we have some Valkyries here as well, Valkyrie and a Valkyrie Pro. So we are covering the whole spectrum of Aston Martin. We have managed to judge some of them. We've put our hat on, we've put our ties on. We're looking very dashing and smart. We judged some of them, but we've had to dive in from the rain. Do you think there's any early contenders that's caught your eye? Well, not necessarily a concourse winner, but you think that's an interesting car?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of cars that have caught my eye, really. I mean, we're hoping to get the covers off at some point today and have a proper look at the cars fully uncovered. But, yeah, things that stood out to me, there's a Vulcan. I mean, that's always an amazing sight, you know. There's a beautiful, there's a couple of beautiful DB5s here, but there's also a very interesting DB4 Series 4 Vantage, which the untrained eye looks like a 5. That's a great looking car. I'm looking forward to seeing that again later. The car I'm dying to get the cover off is the 1940 2-litre C-Type car, which is a very unusual car that's so rare. You know, I think I've maybe seen them over 30 years once or twice, so to see a car like that again, it's going to be good fun. But also, of course, we're in the home turf of the Signet. So the Signet, you know, is less.
And how many have we seen today?
Well, there's 3 cars outside on display being judged. The trouble is, all the cars on display are all superb in terms of condition. You know, I said to someone earlier, if it had to really start knocking points off, I'd be looking inside the car and spotting things that shouldn't be in there in order to find something wrong, because the condition of them, they're all pretty much pristine and perfect, as are most cars on the road in Japan anyway. So yeah, so the 3 Signets are out there. They look really cool in amongst all their bigger brothers. But there's some fabulous cars. I mean, there's a DBS Ultimate 770 out there, which
did look smart.
Really nice, green with I think it's got a gold coach line on it, and it may not sound very nice on a podcast, but it just looks exquisite and looks almost, dare I say it, a very expensive looking car, because of course it would be, but it looks even more than probably the price of the car. It's a real fabulous colour scheme.
One that caught my eye, it doesn't sound too spectacular, it was the DB9 GT. You don't see many of those. I know the Trust was involved in the GTs. Were effectively the final run, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean the actual GTs themselves.
I mentioned the Trust. The Trust were involved with dealing with some dating letters to authenticate that these were the last run.
That's right. So the GT itself is a rare model, but the car that we're talking about is what we call a 1 of 9. So there were 9. I'm trying to think the exact official title. You'd have to forgive me because of the jet lag, but I think
was it final edition?
Final edition or 9 of 9. I mean, we called them different things internally at the time, but effectively there were 9 coupes and there were 9 Volantes. This is one of them. This is a coupe, and it is beautiful as a colour combination. It's Cumberland Grey, which is the colour made famous by the Living Daylights Bond car.
All right.
And the interior is a combination of sort of bitter chocolate, winter wheat from memory. It's a kind of creamy colour. But best of all, it's got this beautiful gloss finished walnut veneer dashboard on the waterfall, the centre part of the dashboard. And it does look absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, it's really nice to see one of those here. There's also a Bond edition DB9 GT, which is another rare thing to see. And also another probably even rarer car is the current generation Vantage. But the car, again, that was done for No Time to Die as a kind of nod towards the Living Daylights V8. And again, it's a Q car. It's a Cumberland Grey. It's got a special mesh grille.
The grille is quite impressive. I mean, we're talking about some of the cars. The photos of these cars will appear on the website and included on social media. But the grille on this Vantage was. It wasn't the normal shark nose grille. It's quite prominent, isn't it?
Yeah. So the grille normally on a Vantage would be sort of slatted type grille or a sort of crisscross type grille, but this one has got basically the same type of mesh that was used in the 1980s car. So the actual pattern, if you look at it, isn't just a honeycomb. It's quite a distinctive pattern with a bright finished surround, as the V8s were in the 80s. So it's got that, and it's also, for a bit of fun, it's got the little reference to in the film Living Daylights when Bond shoots off with the rocket pack that comes out the back of the car. If you remember that scene, the sort of jet engine that sits out the back, the rocket pack, whatever it is, it's got like a yellow and black hatched kind of border to it. So on the back of this car, it's also got a little bit of that yellow and black hatching on the lower part of the splitter at the back. So a nice fun reference to the scene in the film where the car is inspired by. But yeah, so fabulous to see one of those here. You know, we're talking cars that are rare in the UK, which of course we're both in the UK. And the UK is almost a bit too easy sometimes to spot Astons, but even so, when you do, you sometimes see things that are very rare. But to come to the other side of the world and see them, it is really fabulous. And we've seen some great cars just while we've been here. Anyway, we went to the dealership yesterday, the local dealer. We went to our brand centre as well, the House of Aston Martin. And again, we've seen quite a few cars, more than just the cars we're judging.
Well, this area, the Asia side, is a very important market for Aston Martin, and as you say, it's with the display of cars. We do get spoilt in the UK, as you said, with Aston Martins, but in this area we seem to have like a micro area of all the desirable Aston Martins crammed into one site. They really have brought everything together. We've got a gentleman bringing us in some coffee. No, he's taking the coffee away, so that's disappointing. But never mind, Steve, we'll sort stuff out. We'll probably go for another beer like we did last night. Okay, I think what we do, we're going to wrap this part up because I think the rain is easing off now, and we're going to finish off the judging. The pictures of the cars will be on the website and on social media. So, Steve, what are you particularly looking forward to when the rain eases and for the next few days? Because this event's going over 3 days, isn't it? So, and it's going into your 33 years at Aston Martin as well, isn't it? This weekend.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think for both of us, Gary. I think let's not forget that it's your birthday on Sunday.
Well, okay, we'll forget the age on that one.
So we've got a bit of a busy Sunday. So tomorrow, Saturday, will be the sort of prize giving section of the weekend, and
we've got to choose a car to show, haven't we?
We've got to do a car to show. We've got 2 more categories to go and judge, and then I think tomorrow there's also a tour through Tokyo. Some of the cars going on a tour. Including, I believe, the idea is to have a truck with a DB5 on display in the back, in like a big glass back truck.
I think I heard that. I mean, so we have going around Tokyo, DB5 in a glass box on the back of a truck, and it's going to be lit up. And that's going to be spectacular. I hope to get some photos.
Amazing. Yeah, it should look amazing, especially in amongst the normal kind of Tokyo traffic. And then Sunday we end up at the Speedway, which we'll talk about that later in the podcast, I guess. But yeah, looking forward to that. And that, as you say, is a bit of a dual celebration for us too, because it's your birthday, and it will be my 33rd anniversary of joining Aston Martin back in 1990. So,
Steve, I can't believe that. I mean, it's only a few years. You still look so young. How have you been there 33 years? What was your? Well, we will cover this in another podcast. What's your earliest memory? 33 years ago, you went into Aston Martin. What was your first job?
Well, my first job was in the parts stores. I was 19 when I first joined, and my first memory really is that first day. I can remember everything about it, and right at the end of the day, when I remember thinking, if they send me home at the end of this, at least I can say I've been here for a day. But a very distinguished gentleman came up to me and he said, "You must be the new boy." "Yeah, my name's Steve." And he said, "Well, I'm Kingsley, and welcome to Aston Martin. It's a job for life if you want it." And I remember saying, "Oh, thanks very much," out of politeness, thinking, "Yeah, okay, well, we'll see." I never joined Aston to stay here forever, So yeah, 33 years ago, I remember exactly that very moment when that was said to me, a job for life. And little did I know that it may well form a big chunk of it,
So hard to believe, 33 years later, to the year you joined Aston Martin, and here you are in Tokyo, Japan, with an old man next to you celebrating his birthday on the 19th. So I think we may go out for a few beers on the 19th, won't we?
I think we'll probably have earned a few beers by the time we get to Sunday night, because it may all sound a bit glamorous, but as you know as well as I do, we spent 13 hours on an aeroplane yesterday.
Oh, it was hard work yesterday, wasn't it? I think we must have been up for 27 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Lost track of breakfasts and dinners and then whatever, and just crashed into bed. So exactly. We're going back on the 20th, back to AMHT HQ then. So yeah. I think we're going to be we're up early and finish late, but it's great fun, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, you cannot moan about whatever we've had to do to get here. I don't really mind about that. It's just such a fabulous opportunity. What a great thing to be part of. And for me, I've always, whenever I've travelled the world and seen one of our cars somewhere, seeing one outside of the UK makes you feel really proud, because it's a car that we've made and we've sent it all that way overseas to somewhere.
I remember saying, because you and I were at the Tokyo Aston Martin dealer, and we saw a couple of DBXs there, including a 707, and you felt, actually, this was made in the UK, and now it's halfway across the world. You felt a connection with that, didn't you?
Totally. I'm really, very proud to be associated with the ladies and gentlemen that build these cars. I mean, it really makes you feel quite humble. We have a saying at work: nobody builds an Aston Martin on their own. So when I look at an Aston Martin, I almost see in my mind a lot of faces looking back at me, the people that make these things. And I think that's what a lot of owners connect with, and they get to know us as a factory and us as a company. And it's not just a car; it's about the people, and the people who make them, the people who drive them and own them. And of course the people who sell them, service them in the dealer network as well, all over the world. So to come over to another part of the world, into one of our homes, effectively, just absolutely fabulous. So looking forward to the rest of it.
So we're going to wrap this one up. Hopefully the showers or the rainstorm has gone, and we will return to the podcast in part 2, another point. See you soon.
Listening to the Aston Martin Heritage Podcast. Discover more about the story of Aston Martin, the cars, the people, the history with the Aston Martin Heritage Trust. You're always welcome to visit us at our museum in Oxfordshire, so find out more via amht.org.uk.
Hello listener, welcome back. Now, it's going to be noisy. We've got audio visuals going on, which you'll probably see on our website, so do bear with us. Now, it has stopped raining, and I think it's now permanently stopped raining, which is great for the weekend. So we've rustled ourselves back to the concourse area, and we've come to a rather beautiful pre-war class, haven't we, Steve?
Yeah, Gary, we're stood right in the middle of the concourse, and at the moment we're behind like a roped-off area for the free pre-war cars. So, let's think about this for a minute. Anywhere in the world to see 3 Aston Martins from pre-1940 is quite a big deal. There just aren't that many around. So to be on the other side of the world with them is really extra special.
We mustn't forget that, because, as you say, it's quite, when we go to Silverstone, Donington and Goodwood, we do tend to see these. But we're seeing pre-war cars on the other side of the world. And that's quite amazing. They haven't been shipped over here. They belong here.
Yeah, exactly. They live here, and it's... And the funny thing is, of course, they're familiar cars. They're cars, even though they're pre-war cars, they're cars that we see back home in other chassis numbers. But these 3 actually are really good, because we've got what we call a first series car. So for the benefit of the listener, Aston Martin originally was Bamford and Martin Limited, and it made about 61 cars up to 1926. And then it was reformed as Aston Martin Motors when the company was bought by Rennick and Batelli. So we get what we call the Batelli era cars, looked after by Curie Batelli, of course. That's where the name comes from. And this maroon car we stood next to is a very early International. And the thing that has caught my eye is because it just looks like LM4. LM4 is a car I know very well back home. LM4 is a team car, and LM4 is designed to sell these. So this car is the production version. It's a little bit wider. It's got doors on it, but
it's very simplistic. The car. There's no frivolity on this whole car, is there?
No, that's right. I mean, they were a simple shape because the cars were simple anyway. But actually, don't forget, this was a very expensive car when it was new.
Yes.
This would have been back home £600+ to buy. Bearing in mind you could buy an Austin or an MG for £200 maybe brand new. So these were expensive, 1.5 litre engine. But yeah, it's a very, very special car, and the technology was changing rapidly every couple of years with Aston. So these first series cars have got a different type of braking system to the one that's next to it, which is a Le Mans.
Yeah, so this is LM4, so that was 1930.
Well, that's not LM4. It looks
it looks like LM4. Sorry, yes.
It looks like LM4, but it isn't. That's an International.
That's the International. That's
the
1930.
blue car behind us is a Le Mans.
1933.
Yeah, and this is what we call a second series car. So these cars are different because they've got a different type of braking system on the front. So the brakes have significantly moved on. And you've got that wonderful kind of more pointed radiator. You see it's got more like a V to it. Also should point out that the International and the Le Mans, they've both got the V-shaped Aston Martin wing badge, so it's slightly different shape to what we're familiar with now.
Yes.
But in 1932, SCH Davis helped us introduce a new badge, the badge that we've still got today, the famous Beetle wings inspired badge that we've got. But these cars were still being made with the old type of badge. So if we'd wandered onto a motor show stand to see this car here, the motor show stand would have had the new type of wing, but the cars for sale on the stand had the old type of wing. So it's a little bit of a crossover, like we've had recently with a new badge being introduced, really. So anyway, that car represents second series. And then last but not least, the green car over here, the very dark bottle green. This is a really rare car. It's one of only 3 cars that survive out of the 5 built originally.
So you say only 3 out of the 5 are surviving, and here it is in Tokyo.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Shall we just move over to it?
Let's go and have a look, yeah.
So that you know, we feel that we like to give actually some kind of awards to all 3 cars here, because compared to the other vehicles here, which is pretty much production, maybe limited edition, but these are so...
It's hard to pick a win, really.
Yeah, and it's in a different class. But I don't know how you feel, but that one it's good candidate for best of show, the whole thing. And debuting here in this event and restored so well, the first debut actually in Japan in this event, it means a lot. And that design by itself, it's a different class. And these two, and we felt that we both felt that one represents good elegance and the 2-seater and that. But restoration level wise, this one is exceptional.
This is the Le Mans 1933 you're referring to.
So that we felt that both cars actually deserve some kind of award. So it's up to you and us to decide which one is which show. But at least this one, minimum of best restoration or some kind of show. That I think this one.
We can give 3 of them specific name of the
3
award.
Exceptional.
At the best of show, best restoration, most elegant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, we got all the judges here, and we got awesome responsibilities here, trying to make a decision, and we keep changing our mind. No, I think we are pretty convincing ourselves as the cars we like, but these pre-war cars have resonated with everyone. I think you're liking the pre-war cars, aren't you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we should explain as well that we are very much outclassed as judges here, Gary.
I think we are
amateurs. These guys really know what they're doing. Pebble Beach judges, so there's us, the other side of the world, trying to pick a car, and we're amongst.
Do you think
concours royalty? I would call these.
I don't think
guys.
they've rumbled us yet, though, have they?
No, they haven't rumbled us yet. No.
We're going over. So we do bow to their expertise. I mean, yeah, it's marvelous.
For Aston Martin brand, for some reasons, we don't have so many actually pre-war Aston Martins in Japan. There are some more actually, not the bring prisoner here, but some people are actually kind of hesitating whether they should come to this event or not. Hopefully this event's going to be annual or biannual, whatever. But I think so that the people know in Japan that there is a solid history of Aston Martin way before the war, and these 3 represent limited production and some production and all the elegance of the Aston Martin, and it started here. So I think it's...
Well, I think you're right. I think that even in the UK, some seem to think that Aston Martin starts at DB5.
Right.
They seem to forget that it goes back to, the way it goes back further, doesn't it?
No, really. I mean, that's what people should know. So,
you hinted something here. It says is this the first Aston Martin event that's been held in Japan and in Asia?
Maybe only Aston Martin is first time in Japan. Yes. Yes.
So as far as we know, this is the first.
And you are feeling this could be an annual event or every 2 years?
Well, if this
And
one
that's-
becomes successful, yeah, I think you'll have a good chance that, yeah.
I think we got.
plan is to make it a biannual event and move it around the region so it goes to other.
Do you know, St. Steve, I'm sent on an Aston Martin Heritage Festival in Asia.
I'm just loving this, yeah.
Biannual could be a more realistic proposal. Yeah. Biannual, why not?
Yeah,
AMHT will give up the Motor Museum, will come to Tokyo in 2025. No, 26. Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. Now, Steve and I are just going to talk about this green car. Thanks very much.
Right, so back onto this one then, Gary. This is what we call a C-type. It's a speed model, 2-litre speed model, but a C-type. And there's A, B and C types of the 2-litre speed. But the reason why this one is so important is because it's very aerodynamic. It's a first sort of stab, if you like, of a production
isn't it?
car
Yeah.
with aero. 1940, obviously, after World War II had started, production had really sort of ceased at the end of 38. The company was already making aircraft parts at that point, but people were still ordering cars and they were being made and finished off, and this is one of those very last handful that was sold in 1940. So, straight effectively into a war-torn country,
And was it? It looks very racy. I mean, was this a road production car?
Yeah, it's a production car, but very much aimed at someone who was going to buy it and race it. It very functional. It's not the prettiest car in the world, let's be honest. It's very rudimentary aerodynamics, but for me, this is an important car because it links the pre-war 1930s sort of cycle-type wing shape to what came afterwards, which was the DB1 and the Atom in between. They're sort of more streamlined. This is the car industry realising that in order to go faster, you needed to make cars smoother. And of course, what was about to happen after this car was built was another 5 years of conflicts, where if you think about aircraft, you go into World War II with biplanes, and early monoplanes like Spitfire and Hurricane, but you come out the other side, 5 years later, you've got jets. You've got big things breaking the sound barrier almost.
Yeah.
So this car is part of that aerodynamic process, really, of developing those, learning from what they were finding out as they went along.
It's certainly one of my favourite cars here. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. I think we are looking towards trying to. Our responsibility of our 5 judges here is trying to find a car to show, and I think we've got another 24 hours to decide or whatever. But I think this certainly could be in the running, because that's, for me, certainly. That's all right. Steve has just gone off. I'll just waffle on for a bit. Is that the C-Type is the bridge between the square pre-war cars and then the more curvaceous DB1. So I think the C-Type is an important car, and it's just amazing. Here we are, other side of the world, in Tokyo, one of the most important Aston Martins ever made. Right, I'm just going to switch off now, and we'll catch you again later. Welcome back. Now we're just doing a review of the Newport Pagnell cars, and we have come across a rather special V8 Vantage Zagato. Steve, do you want to tell us about what you've found?
Well, I'm a bit excited again, Gary. This is a car that's a prototype Zagato, but the reason I'm so excited is very recently we were very kindly donated 2 or 3 photographs by a former employee who took the photos at the time of this car when it was being shown to the workforce. So, that itself was quite an interesting find. But to then be stood next to the actual car in the photo on the other side of the world a couple of months later is quite remarkable.
Well, it is quite remarkable, and this being the prototype as well. I mean, it's in lovely condition, isn't it?
Well, and also we've been
not sure about were those badges on the fog lights? Would they be?
No, I'll tell you why, because there's a Ford badge underneath there. So that's why they've been stuck on to hide.
Listener, there are fog lights on the front of the Zagato, and I think subtly Aston Martin wings have been stuck over the Ford badges.
You have to remember, this is back in the Ford-owned era. In fact, actually before the Ford era, actually. So quite strangely, and nowadays we take seeing front fog lamps on a car as being quite normal, but even in the mid-80s it was fairly unusual to have integrated fog lamps. So these are from a Ford Sierra Ghia. That's where they come from. but I think this actually predates the Ford relationship, so just by chance really. But anyway, forget about the fog lamps.
Fog lamps. What I particularly like it was that the car's being photographed. It's certainly drawing a lot of attention.
Yeah,
it's looking
with cameras.
We are surprised by camera, and it is looking rather gorgeous under the spotlights, which we have.
I think to say about this car is that I've been told that the man who owns the cars had the car since we sold it new.
Is that gentleman there?
It's a one-owner car, which is pretty amazing.
He's very enthusiastic about it, I must say. He's got the brochures and some photographic history of the car, and I'm rather pleased to say he's got some badges. He's got an Aston Martin Owners Club badge, the centenary of Aston Martin. We've got Aston Martin Club Racing. Is a lovely car. Are you the owner of this car?
Yes.
Yes, you are. Okay.
He's the owner.
You're the owner, okay. How long have you had it?
どのぐらい持ってるんですかこれ。
だから40年出た時から出て少し経ってから30年
The David is 1986, but he owns 40 years.
4 years.
Yeah, 40.
14 years. Oh right, that's a long time, isn't it?
40
years. 40. 40. Yeah.
Yes.
First owner, and it's here, the prototype. We've got the photographs that were donated to the Aston Martin Heritage Trustee a few weeks ago. It's remarkable for being here. Thank you so much for bringing it here.
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
Right.
We have actually a very brand new Aston Martin on display, and I'm going to let this gentleman introduce it. Who are you?
I'm David Clough, co-founder at J. Laverick.
J. Laverick, and what is the brand new Aston? Well, we've got two brand new Aston Martins in front of us. What are they? What are these?
So this is the J. Laverick Aston Martin .1R. It's the new bicycle that we released on the 31st of October. And it's a collaboration between J. Laverick and Aston Martin, and we started again really took the brakes off the development on this one, and here we are.
Which is, I think it's must be a debut in Japan, isn't it? I mean, it was launched in the UK fairly recently. So can you talk me around one of the bikes here?
Yeah, so
I mean, they're looking very simplistic.
Yeah, I mean they're quite elegant, I'd say, and
yeah.
Obviously the styling team at Aston Martin don't need any introduction, really, do they?
Did they have a major input on the styling on this? Who approached who?
That's a really good question. The story is quite organic, I'd say. So Marek Reichman is one of our customers, effectively. He has a Jack, which is our kind of all-road model, and he has a vintage-inspired kind of Leroyka spec bike as well. So when we delivered the bike to Marek, he said to us, well, we should do bikes, and we really, gave that some serious thought. And
I think they did a bike back in the 80s. It was called their first two-wheel off-road vehicle. It was a bike. I can't remember. You probably won't remember it. I do. We'll perhaps go in the archive and find their first off-road bike. And it was, But anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. No. It's there's in more recent history as well. There've been some bike models released by Aston, and with this one we said, if we're going to do this, we really need to do this properly, and it can't be something that we already offer. So it's one of those kind of 1 + 1 = 3 kind of relationships. This isn't anything that we currently offer, but with the kind of backing and guidance from Aston, we've been able to really innovate here. So perhaps if I start at the front of the bike.
So
the lugs, effectively it's a lug construction. The lugs are joined by carbon fibre. So the lugs are 3D printed titanium. That allows us to make kind of one-offs. They're completely bespoke. Everything starts with a bike bit at Gaydon and a spec session. Then we have the data to kind of parametrically adjust these lugs per customer and print them one-off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then we join them together with this beautiful carbon fibre. There's a lovely herringbone seam down the centre of the tube. So obviously that's kind of borrowed from
the carbon fibre. I will be taking photographs, and these will be on the website and social media. The carbon fibre is really adding to the beauty of these bikes, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, as a brand, we do use carbon fibre, but only in the fork. So adding carbon fibre into the rest of the frame is new for us. But it's allowed us to kind of fine tune the performance of the frame, make it a little bit lighter than what we do with our titanium frames. But the cockpit of the bike is visually boltless.
That's what I meant. I think when I said earlier, I said it looking very simple. I mean, that's the thing. I think as well. It sounded simplistic, but I mean, there are no bolts that I can really see. It is. Yeah. You said elegant, I said simple, but that's the reason.
Yeah, we have to use bolts somewhere, but even those bolts, they're bespoke to the bike, and they've got some very fine kind of laser engraving detail. And so if we have to use a bolt, it's going to be the best, and it's going to be the most beautiful bolt.
But best bolt in the world.
Best bolt in the world, yeah. But yeah, so the handlebar stem is boltless, cableless, very, very elegant. And it's because it's 3D printed, we can make it completely kind of bespoke to the customer. So the handlebar width is, adjustable to a fraction of a millimetre, which is completely unique. The brake calipers are integrated into the frame and the fork as well, so no hoses, no hydraulic brake hoses on show.
Oh yes, that's another area of simplicity that's overlooked me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are these two bikes the same?
They're the same. Yep. They're the only difference really is the paint scheme.
Right.
And if you visit our website, actually, there's a configurator. It's exactly the same platform as the car configurator. It's just we've swapped a car out for a bike. You can tailor this thing to your heart's content. So there's actually, we haven't worked out how many variations there are on the configurator. Millions probably. But.
Okay, yeah, sure. Who's your target audience? Who's going to be buying these, do you think?
Yes, it's a really good question. We've kind of inadvertently created a new kind of category of bicycle. We're calling it it's a true hyper bicycle. The engineers, designers, and some of the manufacturers, in fact, also make Valkyrie, the Formula One cars. So, I mean, I'd say it's a collector. It's a collector's piece. They're serial numbered. We're capable of making roughly 100 units, so they're very exclusive. And ultimately, it's a bike to be ridden.
Yes.
And it is engineered. You could do whatever you want on this thing. It's very capable, but at the same time, because it's starting to kind of bridge over to art a little bit.
I was going to say it could be. You see this in some Aston Martin collectors. They buy the car for the art rather than, yes, they are there to be driven, but they buy it for the art and they keep them in the house.
Yeah,
I've known some are sort of bolted on the wall. So probably the same thing could happen to one of these bikes.
Yes, yeah. So there's talking to a chap just lately. He's looking to add one to his collection. Effectively, he's got a museum in his house, and that's absolutely fine by us because it's a beautiful thing. But perhaps it's take it off the wall every once a year on a nice sunny day and enjoy.
So where can we find more information on these bikes, and when they're available? Available now?
Available now, yes. We started taking reservations for the build slots. So the first deliveries are going to be in roughly 5 months. For full information, you can go to our website. So we have a dedicated website for this bike. It's astonmartin.jlaverack.co.uk. That's where you would reach us.
Great. Yeah. Are you having a good show?
Oh, it's incredible. It's so nice to be here. We're really honoured to have been invited. The most unbelievable setting for a car show, isn't it?
It is quite amazing, and it's the light that you brought your beautiful bikes here to show off to the Japanese audience. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hello, welcome back again, everybody. We've just finished the second day. It's 2:30 now at the concours, and we're on our way in a rather nice, I wouldn't say minicab. I think it's more than that, more of a limo, if you like, on the way to Fuji Speedway. Anyway, enough of that. So that would explain the noise in the background. But I'll give you further noise from Steve Waddingham, who's going to summarise our day, aren't you, Steve?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Yeah, so day 2. Was basically the prize giving from the concours that we judged yesterday, and we had 8 categories to judge, and we had also overall car of the show award, and also an award for the best restoration. So those were the 10, effectively 10 categories we had to come up with winners for. And the thing that blew us away yesterday was just a high standard of the cars. I think we were completely taken aback by the type of cars that have been pulled together, but also the condition of every one of them. Every single car is just, really well presented. And this afternoon, as the cars drove out and drove off into the streets of Tokyo, the car, every single one of them was just absolutely perfectly tuned and running really smoothly.
What's it, the number one?
Oh yeah, I mean,
one was it 1930, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the car that won the pre-war category,
That sounded lovely.
Absolutely like a sewing machine, a 1930 international model, what we call an international two-seater. So really pretty car, very very rare, and that just drove off out into the streets of Tokyo. Followed by, other older cars that were there. There was a DB4 Vantage, a DB2, Mark III, yeah, DB6, DB5, and then right the way up to brand new models, things like DBS 770 Ultimate. There were a couple of V12 Vantages as well, the new type. So a real mixture of different types of cars. And it's just been so impressive, really, that the level of cars and also the level of enthusiasm from the owners and from the visitors to the event itself.
I think what particularly I enjoyed, Steve, and I think it took us both by surprise, because we chose the class winners and the overall winner yesterday, and they were being presented their awards. And I think about 2 or 3 minutes beforehand, as when they were announcing, everyone was on the speakers on the microphone. It says, "Right, Steve, right, Garry, you're going out presenting." So that was a moment, wasn't it? Unprepared, but I think that went quite well.
Yeah, I mean, these sort of events, it's the first time we've ever done this before, and it's always going to be an element of trial and error. But yeah, it went really well. It was really nice to be able to hand the awards over to the people that we picked the cars for.
I think it was quite nice that you did a speech at the end to sort of thank everyone.
So there were 5 judges, and all 5 of us got a chance to say what we thought about the event and what we'd enjoyed about it. So that was really good. And the other 2 judges, I should say, were very seasoned veterans for concours. They're both Pebble Beach judges. And actual, well-known personalities in the car industry. So
that's day 2 being wrapped up, and tomorrow will be, I think it's the final day, Sunday the 19th, which is we're going to be a major event, which is going to be Steve Waddingham's 33 years at Aston Martin, and to celebrate that today I've opened up the Fuji Speedway. So Steve will be a statue unveiled for him, and of course I've made this all up. Anyway, see you tomorrow at the racetrack. Here I am at the Fuji racetrack, and if you want to know what a Valkyrie sounds like when it's driven in anger, here it is. We have a very special guest here on the podcast, and with Gregory Adam, who is the regional president of Aston Martin in Asia, and I believe has been the driving force behind this Aston Martin Arcadia event. Welcome to the podcast, Greg.
Thank you very much, Garry. How are you?
I'm very well. I've had a splendid few days, and I think the weather's been absolutely spectacular. We had a very damp first day, but let's not dwell on that. So, is this the first time it's this Arcadia thing? Why Arcadia, as a matter of fact?
Well, about a year ago or so, when I joined Aston, I knew that we had some objectives. One of them actually was to raise the profile or connect the profile of the past to the future for Aston Martin in Asia, and particularly Japan. Japan is an important market. It's the biggest market within the Asia-Pacific region. We have so many great cars and passionate fans, but let's say it's been left on its own for a while. So trying to reconnect that and to put something out in front of everybody. That's where it started.
I must admit, the the range of cars, the breadth of appeal surprised me from being at the Aston Martin Heritage Trust. I didn't have any preconceptions when it's the first time I've been to Japan, and I was aware of this region being very important. But the range of cars from the pre-war up to Valkyrie was quite impressive. I mean, is this something you've experienced?
So I've been in Japan collectively 22 years, but over a longer span from when I was in grad school. And I've always loved cars and always wanted to work internationally. And when I came to Japan originally in 1989, it was what they still call the bubble period in Japan. And so there were a lot of cars and a lot being made here domestically that are really interesting, as you know, the JDM cars, but also a lot of special cars, supercars as they call them, were being brought in and collected by people because they had the money, they wanted the investment, they loved the cars, not necessarily in that order. So we saw lots of cars here and different cars and different colors and different a little bit more extravagant. I wouldn't call them over the top or without taste, but they would not just get basic cars. And in Japan, a car, especially one of this expense and of this variety, becomes a lot more of each of the individual owners' personality. What I mean is they take it and they attach it and they wear it like a badge of honor. Either they love Britain, they love Aston Martin. In a homogeneous society, people are looking to establish that niche. There's just a real deep interest in something, whether it's butterflies or cars. That's what I mean. So I knew all the cars were here. And I had worked with other brands, supercar brands in Japan and done things. Like I said, it was a bit asleep just because there was no one connecting the dots. So your question was, where did Arcadia come about? Well, I think we needed an event, but I think we needed our own event, an event that was something we could own, we could name, and we could do what we wanted, meaning keep it in Asia Pacific, keep it in Japan, take it abroad, whatever it is. But people would remember it and start to use that. And then, of course, when you search for it online or something, it would come up, Aston Martin Day or Aston Martin track event. It's a little bit normal. But I think what this does is grabs the attention of the owner and the fan, and we build it up. Arcadia itself comes from looking for kind of this place, this utopia, this kind of the best of the best, where everything comes together, like heaven, like Valhalla, like Arcadia, which is basically a Greek word for this utopia. So this is where it came from. We looked around for things. Of course, I was looking for something with a V, but again, once you use that, that's one less name you can use for a car, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Can you? I'm interested in the car culture in Japan. As you hinted towards it earlier, it's very much of an individual nature, isn't it? Can you just expand on that? It seems to be the car culture over here seems to be, in my brief experience of the 3 days here, it does seem to be somewhat different from what I've seen in America and certainly in the UK and Europe even.
So, like I said, when I came in 1989, basically through 95, it was the bubble period, but the economy flipped the other way. And also the interest in cars started to change a bit. While lots of money and everything was spent on cars, with the economy not moving well, there's a lot of deflation for many years in Japan. The rise of the cell phone and then the smartphone meant that younger people, they had a car is also communication pieces to get together with friends. Now they had personal ways to do that. Interest in cars just dropped like a rock. The motor show, the Tokyo Motor Show, which was fanatical back in the day, disappeared. By 2000 it was the Lehman shock of 2009. It was essentially gone. But what also happened was, as it left, and as some great cars left Japan, the cars that were collected by people over the bubble period, there was also a semi-resurgence that was happening deeper underground as cars left, but there was other cars coming in from younger people, either who like the cars now, or from some of the middle-aged guys who are now getting a bit older and wanted that same feeling like some of their alumni friends had. So the car culture if you think of it that way, it was big, then it's come down, and now it's coming back again with a vengeance. The population of Japan is decreasing rapidly. The car population every year, the number of cars manufactured and sold is going down as a whole. But the foreign car market has doubled in the past 10 years. And within that, the supercar market, the ultra-luxury market, which is what Aston Martin is in, is even growing faster. So what it means is people who want cars want something special, they want something different, and they want something exclusive. So now we're going back to that, hey, the car means something to me. One other thing. The Japanese, as you can imagine, they don't have lots of space, as you know.
No.
So when you buy a car, it's not, yes, in this end of the market, 2 or 3 or 4 or 30 cars is not super unusual. But in general, we have a lot of owners that could be their only car. So they want something special. They spec it special. They, like I said, they wear it on their badge, or they're real Brit fanatics.
I've noticed over here, I'm intrigued about how the DBX is selling over here, and I can see how well it's selling because Tim Cottingham at the Trust, who deals with the register of cars, and he noticed the most popular car sold in Japan so far was the DB11 with 874 examples, and the DBX is close at number 2 at 719. What I have noticed, Greg, is that the SUV doesn't seem to be particularly popular in Japan, whereas the people carriers, but the DBX is clearly an SUV. It's obviously been very well received.
So Japan, unlike other markets in the ultra-luxury segment, has a number of cars, and let's say, sedans are going down, and the SUV market actually is growing, the ultra-luxury segment as well. It's only 4 other competitors, okay? You can imagine who they are. The DBX and the strength of the dealers and some of these events that we're doing has allowed us, the market is up 16%, super luxury in the past year. DBX is up 69%, okay? There's a few other competitors. We're focusing on DBX because that'll bring in new people, and we're finding that they have a DBX and then they want a Vantage or something like that. And it's really working well. And the DBX is a fabulous car. Because it doesn't share a chassis with other vehicles or other brands or anything like that, it really stands out when people drive it. Plus, in Japan, we have a lot of very square SUVs at the higher end of the market. This is an elegant shape. It is sports car-like, and we've done a lot to make it relevant to those ultra-luxury buyers. So now we have 27% market share in that ultra-luxury range, which is number 1 for the top 6 markets in the world for Aston Martin. So it is growing, in terms of SUVs, and we luckily have such a great car.
Now, at this particular moment, on the Sunday when we are recording this, I think we have a finale parade run, and I think we have numerous customers and perhaps some from the Aston Martin Owners Club from Japan cars. I'm not seeing a particular theme in colours or in spec. Still remains very much an individual car, doesn't it?
Yes, even if you go back to some of the classic cars, there's people who've gotten them restored, and on purpose, one of our great owners here in Japan wanted a DB5 that he could drive every day. So when he got it redone in the UK, that was the objective, and he drives the thing like he would drive a Toyota Corolla, which is great. So and he has an interesting spec because the only thing he asked for was he didn't want to scratch the car by putting the keys in the door, so he asked for an automatic door opener to be put on his key fob. Imagine that, a DB5 with that. So that's one thing, but you see, not unusual, but tastefully different color combinations from a lot of our owners in Japan, which frankly is great to see.
The concours, that was a unique event, and can you explain something about the venue? I understand it's a very special venue. Can you just expand on that, please?
So in doing this event and having the objective of wanting to make a statement and connect the dots, like I said, I've worked for other supercar brands in Japan, and some of them, in fact, I established here, and they started in the same way, and they've grown to great heights. And one of the things you need to do is set the bar and connect the dots. The dots means all of the owners all over Japan and elsewhere, all of the dealers around, and bring back that sense of pride in, why we're here. We have people that are completely focused on their DB5, but we have Valkyrie now, we have Vulcan now, we have the Valor that's out. So we need to put it all together and link James Bond and Valkyrie and Valor and Rapide and everything else, DBX. And when they see that all together, it becomes natural. And then the power of the owners is concentrated. So we had that. Then the second thing we wanted to do is find a location that has never been used by anyone else. I mean, we have to establish that Aston Martin is not just on par with some of these other brands that have been growing for the past. We're better. And we are. I mean, to have a one-make Concours 3-day event on track and everything, there's few brands that can do that with the variety. So knowing that, we searched. And I tell you, there was a couple, 3 places we looked at, and we went to the end, and we did not get the permission from the government, which is really hard in Japan. That's why an exclusive new place can be harder than anywhere else in the world. However, we found that the Kinryuzan Sensoji Temple in Tokyo, which is the oldest temple in Tokyo, was built in around 624, 628, if I remember, so more than 1,400 years of history, essentially, around that. They never had a car event or allowed a car event, but Aston Martin, we approached them. We have a very good reputation. We're, the England and Japan share so much in common, being island nations, having an imperial family or a royal family, having many traditions that are the same in craftsmanship and build and things like that, shipbuilding, whatever. So it was understood and received, and they allowed us to do it. So to the Japanese owner and fan, they recognize this as, wow, that's something ultra special. The pride of having those cars with a backdrop of pagodas and temples and things that are extremely Japanese, and people coming from all over Japan and all over the world every day to visit, it all linked up and made a super special location.
It was a very special location because when Steve and I turned up, we could not believe how busy it was as an attraction. I understand it's like this pretty much all the time, so it's quite an achievement to have a dedicated area just purely for Aston Martin, I think.
So yes, the way a temple works in Japan, you go there obviously for things like birth, death, wedding. But there's also things you go throughout your life for, like when your children are 3, 5, and 7 years old, you bring them for very special days. You go there for requesting something from the gods for help on an exam or something. And this happens consistently on a daily basis. And because of the history and the beauty of that temple in Japan, people come from all over Japan to see it. But it has established itself also from people coming from overseas as well. If you go there, you'll see the massive grass flip-flops, for lack of a better word, that are on the 2 pillars of the gate entering, so that's for the gods to walk in and out and not tread on things. It's just those little things really appeal, and that's the specialness of that location.
So how many cars? I think we had about 65 cars. I think we had 65 cars split into a number of classes, and a very wide-ranging number of classes from pre-war up to, the hypercar class, wasn't it? I think it was, and it was quite unique to see. I think we had the pre-war cars next to the Valkyrie, the hypercar. I mean, that was quite a contradiction.
Yes, but it really worked, because then you could see in an instant that what is Aston Martin. I mean, everyone knows certain vehicles, DB5, whatever. And we did a nice DB2 through DB12 display, plus the DB tractor and the DBX, right?
I thought the tractor was a great fun because we not forget, I mean, if it wasn't for the tractors, maybe it wouldn't be an Aston Martin, I'm not sure, through David Brown. And I wonder, because at the very end of the event, they went off for a drive through Tokyo to here, was it? Did they come to Fuji? And the tractor went, and I wonder what the crowd thought of the tractor. Why is there a tractor leaving?
Well, it's interesting. Tractors and similar equipment have been a part of a lot of supercar brands' histories over the years, as you may or may not know. I mean, it's more than you think.
It is.
And when you find one and people put it on display, it brings a smile to people's faces. It's like Signet, it just brings that. Oh, that's so cute. I want one. I didn't know about that. And in our case, like you said, I mean, having that interesting history, diverse history, and then having it next to hypercars. Plus, the other thing on the other side of the pre-war cars is we had, as you remember, the Valor and the Valhalla mock-up, and you can see the future, the DBR22. So, wow, it was linked, and it wasn't so far away that you didn't really get it. It was literally right in front of you, and now what we've done is connected those dots.
Staying with that event, were you pleased with it? Is there any cars that escaped you that you didn't get hold of? I think you've pretty much ticked all the boxes, to be fair.
As the first Arcadia event, you have to establish it, and it was a lot of us calling people on the phone, hearing about a certain car or two, and then seeing if we could get the owners to bring them out. In the end, I mean, as much as we can design a nice event on a piece of paper, it's the owners and their cars. So like you said, we got about 65 great cars from owners, plus about 5 that we brought in, special, like DB5 Goldfinger Edition, Valor, etc. There's a couple of cars that we missed, and I won't mention because we'll keep them in 2 years' time. But what we did was we were able to bring together so much different variety and things like that it worked well as the first one. It established things. And I think they'll be coming out of the woodworks in droves next time.
Now, I think for most people, should we say, event organisers would have thought, well, that would have been enough. That was a 2-day event. But no, you bolted on an event here at the Fuji Speedway. Can you tell us something about that?
Well, first of all, a proper concours in Japan, and I mean proper with judges that people know. We were lucky enough to have 2 very famous Japanese car designers who are globally well known. Ken Okuyama, who was previously at Ferrari and Pininfarina, and we had Shiro Nakamura, who was the designer under Carlos Ghosn for many years, was a revitalized Nissan. On top of that, we had Shiro Horie, who was the current Octane Japan magazine editor, and we had yourself and Steve. And what that did was bring authenticity. In Japan, there unfortunately has not been a really, broad and deep concours ever, which is strange. But we did it, and we did it with your help, and we did it with one make. So now that's established. And we gave awards in all the categories, like you said. And one thing we were able to get, one cool car was... earlier this year, I was approached by a gentleman who brought me this book, and he showed me this lovely car that was built by Aston for the 1940 Le Mans. And it's gorgeous. It has 2 fuel tanks that hold about 120 liters of fuel, and it's dark British racing green, and it's different looking. And the guy asked if he could put it in our brand center sometime or what. I said, no, hold on. We have a really special event coming up in the fall. Let's use that as the Japan debut. He bought it in 2018, basically kept it hidden for so many years. It actually had won a special prize at Pebble Beach in 2004, and we showed it, and it won Best of Show. And that's why this was a success. Stuff that was never seen before was now seen. So then, when we go into the second day, many of those cars left the temple after the concours, and they went on the parade. And on the parade, they all got together and went through Tokyo. And then many of those owners came, as you said, to Fuji Speedway, where on Saturday night, the second day, we had, as you know, this lovely gala dinner for, let's call it an exclusive set of owners, a very small set of owners, where it was black tie, and we had a charity event, we had a charity auction. We raised a lot of money, let's say, for charity, without going into the details.
I was impressed by the figures. I was thinking, my goodness, that's a lot of yen. I think I was trying to convert it back into sterling, but even those figures were quite impressive. I think pretty much. I think the auction was a very good success, wasn't it?
Yes, and that's another thing. I mean, there are many Japanese, obviously, who do these things, but it's still at a smaller level compared to other places in the world. So to have a success like that and have active and lively participation, I mean, our guests enjoyed themselves, which to me in the end is the most important thing. Also, being able to raise money for good causes. Everyone has a heart, and I think it was shown. And then those same people showed up today for this lovely track day. So 3 days, 3 different events. This is, again, something that, frankly, we knew we could do, and we know that it hasn't been done in Japan.
So, here we are in 2023. I've heard over the weekend, and you've said it a few moments ago, in 2 years' time. Clearly, this is going to happen again. This is going to be every 2 years, or are we just going to do one in 2 years and see how that goes?
Listen, the way these things work from experience is every year it becomes a little bit monotonous, and people don't get as excited as if it's every couple of years. Every 2 years gives you enough change in the market, new cars coming in and out, classics, whatever, plus we introduce new cars and let's say they arrive in time so we have enough. Think about it. The next time we do it in 2025, we'll have Valhalla, we'll have Valor, we'll have some other new cars that are coming along. So that'll be fun. And this being the second time, like I said, it's established. People know what to expect. We really expect a big turnout, cars, fans, and everything else. Where we do it will be our next step. We could continue to do it in Japan. We can continue to do it near Tokyo. But I think there's room to look at some other places.
I think you're going to have to perhaps look for some more room. I don't know, because the impression I've got here is that it was so professional and it had so much integrity. I think people that maybe outside that have thought maybe a bit suspicious of it, as they were, we're not quite sure, and they're going to look at this and they're going to listen to this podcast and they're going to see the videos and online and your own promotions and think, hey, that's actually a serious event. I'm going to do that in 2 years' time. I think you've set yourself a very high bar there.
Listen, I must say it would be more than an honor if all of the people who are listening to the podcast, particularly in the UK and other nations, consider, how can I be there in 2 years' time? How can I get my super interesting car? Or just come over to see what's going on. That, in the end, is the most fun, when we can integrate owners and fans from all over the world and maybe a few of their cars.
I definitely know for a fact there's 2 people, they were here this weekend, and they saw on the social media between myself and Steve that we were coming over, and they think, right, well, we're having some of that, and they came over, well, I think it was on a Thursday night, and they've flown back today, and they said they will be back here in 2 years' time with their own cars.
I'm so happy. We had a few from Singapore, Malaysia, Bangkok, Australia as well, want to do the same thing. Listen, they got it in terms of how we communicated and came up and saw for real, and the most important thing is they had a great time, I believe, and then we'll go back and tell their friends and fellow owners and fellow fans, and we'll see a lot more of everybody.
I think you better start working on the next event now. We know how long these things take, and the AMHT, we'll be delighted to help in any way we can. I really must thank you and your team for making us very welcome. It's been a delight, and thank you for including us.
Well, I would also like to thank all of you because, like I said, I mean, an idea on paper only works for so long. You need to have people who are supporting it, bring knowledge, bring ideas, even bring different opinions, and then work with all of the owners. And in the end, it's the cars we gather and the enthusiasm we create with those owners. So thank you.
Greg, thank you very much. Hello everyone, it's Gary again. On the final day, it's on a Sunday, and we're slowly, and I do mean slowly, cruising back towards the airport, ready for our flight tomorrow. So while we're here and in a traffic jam, I have Mr. Waddingham next to me, and I think this seems appropriate to sum up our 3 days, don't you think, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're not going anywhere for a couple of hours. So we are literally we're going through tunnels at the moment, aren't we? We're kind of passing. We've got Mount Fuji behind us, and we're in a real heavy 3-lane traffic jam of trucks, motorbikes, cars, all sorts of things, all heading towards Tokyo. But yeah, we've been at We've been at the Fuji Speedway since about 8 o'clock this morning.
I think that's it, yeah.
And when we got there this morning, it was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. We walked through the pits and into the pit lane, effectively, of the track. And then we crossed onto the actual track grid, onto the starting grid, where quite a few cars were already on display, ranging from we basically had a couple of pre-war cars there.
Well, I think it was some of the cars that they drove yesterday from the concourse.
Yeah.
They made their way. So we had the International,
yeah,
the 1930 International, I think it is, all the way up to the Valkyrie Pro.
Yeah. So the cars literally drove from Tokyo. It's a good couple of hours drive, isn't it? So. Just felt, so a lot of the cars that were on display at the concourse were there, and then we also had on the actual starting grid was one of the replica Formula One cars, the Valhalla full size kind of model, and the Valor was there as well, wasn't it? It was incredible, really. You got sort of some of the oldest cars amongst some of the current ones.
I think a forgotten supercar is the Vulcan. That keeps appearing, doesn't it?
Yep. So the Vulcan, and then this afternoon the Vulcan, and there were two Valkyries, a road car and a Valkyrie Pro, and they were going around just the three cars on their own because of the speed difference that they're capable of. And ever so often you'd get like this sort of wham, and it was basically one of the Valkyries going past, like a low-flying missile, basically. So fast you could barely see it coming. It was that quick.
That was incredible. I heard something and I glanced, and it was just like a black streak. It was just lightning. Yeah. But you heard it. My word. That's going to be amazing at Le Mans in 2020.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the noise outside was incredible. And then a couple of times today they've had like sort of controlled sort of laps where the cars have gone out in batches and then basically formed up to have a big loop of kind of cars parading around the track. Again, all different types really, ranging from some of the early cars right the way through to brand new ones. And it just looked really amazing, didn't it? All very colourful, lots of different coloured vehicles, and against the sort of backdrop of a race circuit with the sort of sponsorship colours everywhere, and it was just a really colourful display, wasn't it? Really,
it was, Steve. I think colourful is the thing, because as you may have heard earlier in the podcast when I had a chat with Greg Adam, the car culture in Japan is amazing, and each of these cars, we saw the DBXs, the DB5s and the DB11s and whatever, they were beautifully presented as some lovely colours, and again this Fuji track against the backdrop of the mountain, I think it was in a beautiful sunny autumn day as well. I was rather fortunate. It was a beautiful sight, and I even got a better view of the mountain. I think it was a impending doom. I went out on a DBX hot lap, a DBX 707, and I think I had a madman driving the car. And just on a different league. The car's amazing, but you've got to be amazing to do what it can do. And in the windscreen ahead in one of the corners, I saw the Fuji mountain, and I think it was heading rapidly towards us, and it was quite staggering. That DBX 707, Steve, is an amazing car, and it seems to be very popular in Japan, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the DBX and DB11 in Japan, they're both the most popular Aston Martins of all time that have been shipped here. And I think the numbers are roughly in the sort of 800, so 700 to 800 sort of range.
I think it was just over 800 for the DB11, and the DBX is 770.
Yeah, 770. Yeah, not far off. So yeah, those are the two most popular cars here. But there's also a lot of DBSs here, and we've seen DB9s, and we've seen a DB7 Zagato, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think one of the big differences in Japan with vehicles is that when they get to a certain age, they become quite expensive to keep them roadworthy to Japanese standards, and I don't mean roadworthy as we would know roadworthy back in the UK or Europe, but so you tend to see that cars, sort of middle-aged cars, drop out a little bit, and then they survive and come back as a classic. But
that's why we only saw one DB7, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
One
yeah,
DB7 Volante, Vantage Volante.
But just sat here in the traffic, looking at all the vehicles around us, the one thing you notice is there isn't a single dirty vehicle on the road. Everything's clean, sparkling. A lot of the trucks have got almost like a chrome bumper type application. They're very kind of showy, aren't they? They look like almost like a showman's truck.
I was just trying to think what's my overriding impression if I had to sum up the event for the past 3 days. It was delightful that the Aston Martin Heritage Trust were invited for their first event here, the Arcadia, and hoping to do one in 2025, so see if we get invited to that. I was just trying to think, for me, Steve, I'll ask you in a moment. For me, I think the overriding impression was I was impressed by the sheer variety and breadth of cars at the Aston Martins here. I suspected when I come over, when they said they were going to hold the event, it was going to be DB9E and that sort of thing. But no, we had road-going pre-war cars. We had the Newport Pagnell V8s, if you like. There were Gaydens. There was a sheer breadth of cars, which I think, if this event was actually held in the UK, it wouldn't put itself to shame. It just covered everything. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the sheer variety of cars, even amongst the same model, they're all different colours, different combinations of interior colours and options and things. So a real colourful, display of cars is what we've been looking at. But also, historically speaking, some of the cars as well, really interesting cars, like the Le Mans, 1933 Le Mans, the Pale Blue car, if you're looking at the photos, which has got a unique body on it. It was a car ordered from new, and the owner specified to have the fuel tank incorporated in the sort of boot area of the car, rather than the separate slab tank that they normally had. And the bonnet was different as well. So just very subtly different to a standard Le Mans of 1933. But there's only one, and it's here. And if we didn't come here, we wouldn't have seen it ever. I think I've seen I've seen photographs of it before, but to see it in the flesh.
Well, I think he was also excited by the overall the win of the show from the judge's point of view, which was the type, the C. Oh, what's it, Steve? What's it called?
C-type. Yeah,
C-type special.
2 litre speed C-type.
That's the one. And because they only made 5, 3 still exist,
yeah.
And one of them is here.
Yeah, exactly that. And there was a beautiful red V8 Vantage Zagato, which the thing that I loved about that car, and it's the reason why we chose it as the winner of the Heritage V8 class, was because it's an ex-prototype. So, as a prototype, it would have had a fairly hard life. And then it's been obviously sold when it was, disposed of to the man who still owns it today. So he's been the only owner of that car since the sort of late 80s. And the car is superb condition. You'd never know it was a prototype. And for me, that was such a winner because of the story of it, and meticulously looked after. And also he'd got all the paperwork, and he'd even got his little Zagato pin badge on his jacket yesterday. So much pride in the car. But that class was so difficult to judge because there was another man who'd got a Vantage V550 and also a Virage from 91 coupe, and he owned both cars, and they both looked incredible on the outside. The 550 was a real good concourse car under the bonnet as well. And again, he's got all the information with them and the paperwork and stuff. Really well presented, and it was a really tough decision, wasn't it, trying to choose between those 3 cars, really, yet alone the other cars that were equally good in the class as well. So
I want to give a special shout out, and I think it was you and I spotted it. I found it, and then you came round to my way of thinking, if I can say, is that yes, there were about 5 judges, and they were looking at the other cars, and the other judges were seasoned Pebble Beach judges. But Steve, we saw sounds dismissive, a plain early V8 Vantage. It was like a cream colour, and there was no bling, there was no decoration. It was an early generation. It might have been a 4.3 or certainly a very early 4.7, and the wheels were standard. It was just I don't wish to be dismissive, a plain sort of creamy Vantage, and I liked it because it just the guy clearly had a tremendous pride of ownership of that, and he had some of the documentation and some other bits and pieces in the windscreen. All right, it wasn't a Valkyrie or a Zagato, and it didn't have any bling factors array and some of the extreme styling. It was just a pure early V8 Vantage, and I think it appealed to us. And I think from a personal point of view, if there was a pride of ownership award, if that was available, I think we would have we would have gone that route.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it had like models in the window and the brochure and all the rest of it. You've gone to so much effort to kind of present the car, and like you say, pride of ownership, definitely. But yeah, so it's been amazing. It's been amazing 3 days. We've crammed a lot in. I think you and I have been pulled from pillar to post. Lots of friends back in the UK and around the world asking for chassis numbers, but we didn't get time. I mean, we barely got the time to take the photos. The reason, dear listener, that we didn't get the chassis numbers is because most of the time the cars were behind like a kind of a rope to protect them from people getting too close, and it's not very good form to go hopping over ropes and lifting bonnets up when everyone's trying to look at them and take pictures. So yeah, unfortunately we didn't get a chance to write the chassis numbers down, but I'm sure we can work out what was what. But yeah, amazing. And we've also been on a couple of fairly lengthy dinners each evening. Tonight is the only night that we've got to ourselves, I believe. It's I don't even know. I dread to think how many hours we've done in the last few days. It feels like a very long week crammed into 3 days, but we can't really complain because we've had a great time. But the other thing as well, Gary, let's not forget that today's a bit special for kind of both of us in one way or another. So it's your birthday. Well, first of all, it's 9 years ago today I met my wife Sarah, so that's a very special anniversary in itself. But also, from an Aston Martin point of view, it's my 33rd anniversary of joining the company. So I joined Aston Martin in 1990, 19th of November 1990. So today is 33 years later. What a way to spend a work anniversary, surrounded with amazing cars, and waking up this morning to a big panoramic view of a racetrack with the sun coming up over the mountains. It's pretty amazing, really. So yeah, couldn't have been a better day, really, I think, Gary.
I totally agree. And I'll tell you something, Steve, you say it's your 33 years. We could have continued this podcast talking about your 33 years of Aston Martin, but I don't think there's enough recording capacity in this microphone, and we'll probably fill up the internet. But it is my duty and my mission to get you trapped, and we're going to talk about your history at Aston Martin one day. So I think that will do us for now. We're still bimbling away on the way to the airport, looking forward to a cup of tea and perhaps a KFC or something like that, or McDonald's, see how we go. So it's goodbye from me, Garry Taylor, and
yeah, it's goodbye from me, Steve Waddingham. See you soon, everyone.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
You're listening to the Aston Martin Heritage Podcast. Discover more about the story of Aston Martin, the cars, the people, the history, with the Aston Martin Heritage Trust. You're always welcome to visit us at our museum in Oxfordshire, so find out more via amht.org.uk.